I've never seen such a tyrannical old lady. People buy things with money, but she uses fish. It's over a kilo already, no need for change. Oh dear, my wife is in for a big blessing tonight. This dear old lady loves her granddaughter so much. Her name is Che Chun. She is a traditional diver on Jeju Island. Even though she is older, she still has to go to the sea to dive for fish. For many years, she has been exposed to sea winds and harsh sunlight. This has made her skin dry, cracked, and reddened. This is the clearest mark of the years gone by. Hard labor, but her fate is even harsher. Her son died young, and her daughter-in-law remarried. She had to raise her little granddaughter named Hiji alone. Her love and dedicated care filled her heart. Her loneliness was comforted by the love and warmth of her adorable granddaughter. Whenever Hiji asks, "Grandma, is the sea wider or the sky higher?" she always seriously replies that it is the sea that is wider because the sea always embraces the sky. Just like how she always embraces Hiji. Hiji's innate painting talent has filled every little corner of their yard. Even when Grandma goes to the fields to work, Hiji paints vibrant yellows all over the hills. And even a scene of Grandma working hard turns into a lifelike painting. The two of them, seemingly forgotten by the world, were taunted by fate and forced apart. It was a normal morning, just like any other day. Grandma Chun took Hiji to the bustling market, filled with noise and people. Grandma even bought something for her beloved granddaughter. A beautiful, colorful bracelet. Hiji tightly held onto Grandma's shirt, following closely, but in just a brief moment of distraction, Hiji's figure vanished without a trace. At that moment, it felt like a heavy stone struck her heart, and the unspoken fear surged within her in an instant. In the crowded market, Grandma frantically searched for Hiji, even screaming until her voice was hoarse. She searched every corner of the market for her granddaughter, but in the end, all her desperate calls were in vain. Among the lively crowd, her granddaughter had disappeared. Since then, Grandma Chun suddenly looked older, and throughout the 12 years since her granddaughter went missing, her already lonely life became even more gloomy. Every day, she sank into endless sadness and confusion. Her face bore the marks of time, and there were countless missing person posters. Yet still, there was no news about her granddaughter. Whenever a real estate agent wanted to buy her house, she would get angry, refuse, and splash water at them. Even her grandson advised her to sell the house for her old age. But she remained determined to stay in the old house to wait for Hiji. If she sold the house, how would Hiji come back home? Perhaps the harsh fate she endured touched the heavens and earth. Just when she prayed to the dolphins swimming by, her grandson beside her unexpectedly received a phone call. And in that call, finally, there was news about Hiji. Really? Is it true? It's as if the dolphins heard her wish. Grandma and her grandson hurried to the police station. Grandma Chun was worried that her granddaughter wouldn't recognize herself, so she carefully cosplayed as Hiji. She cast her image back to those years to find her lost granddaughter, but the officer at the police station told her that year her granddaughter was taken away by her own mother. However, not long after, the girl's mother had a traffic accident, and her stepfather, due to his reckless lifestyle, took the girl to an orphanage, which made Grandma Chun's heart ache even more for her granddaughter's fate. As Hyori slowly walked in from the door, Grandma Chun's eyes were filled with tears. At this moment, Hyori had grown into a 17-year-old girl. Grandma Chun trembled as she stepped forward to lift her face. "You're Hiyashi, right? You've grown so much. These eyes, this mouth, this bracelet you still wear. Why didn't you come to find me?" Meeting her granddaughter again, Grandma was emotional and shed tears. She couldn't stop touching her face, just looking at the colorful bracelet. Grandma was sure this was her granddaughter, who had been lost for 12 years. How much hardship had she endured? "My dear, my lovely granddaughter. It's all right, as long as I find you, I will be content." Finally, the staff suggested that Grandma and her granddaughter take a picture together. Grandma was teary-eyed, holding Hiyagi tightly as they returned home. She saw that the room was still unchanged from the old days. She took out a crayon and placed it in her old pencil case. Seeing that scene, Grandma was even more certain that her granddaughter had truly returned. That night, the whole village came to congratulate Grandma Chun. Chun found her granddaughter after 12 years lost in such a warm scene. Hyori seemed very hungry, devouring delicious dishes as if the reunion had nothing to do with her. But from her fragmented childhood memories, everyone still chose to believe in this girl, so Hyori began living with her grandmother. Like all children sent back home, Grandma wanted to make up for the years of love she missed. The girl, who had lived in the city, was bought by Grandma's simple rural-style clothes that were quite unusual. Grandma even bought her a huge butterfly bow, but living under the same roof with an elderly person, the generational differences, and the gap between the city and the countryside still existed. One night, when Hyori went to the bathroom, Grandma Chun unexpectedly opened the door and brought in a lamp. Her gaze was full of love and protection as the girl bathed in the wooden tub. Grandma pretended to look for something and stepped in. "Wow, you locked the door while bathing, didn't you?" It was as if she feared that if she took her eyes off her, her granddaughter would disappear once again. Although Hyagi was not accustomed to life in the countryside, the sincere love that Grandma Chun had for her was overwhelming. To the extent that she felt quite shy because living in the orphanage from a young age, she had never been used to being loved. And she had also never been accustomed to this colorful life. Later, Grandma took her to the local high school, but almost every day she argued with her teachers. Especially with her art teacher during art class when the other students were focused on creating. Hyagi's drawing board remained blank. When the teacher asked why she didn't start drawing, she frankly replied that she didn't know what to draw, but the teacher still decided to give her a chance. He would allow her unlimited time. But today I have to finish my drawing and submit it to the teacher before I can leave here, understand? Until late afternoon after school. Hyagi still hasn't managed to draw anything, but when she sees the lipstick fall on the ground, she suddenly gets an idea. Immediately, she picks up the lipstick and breaks it in half, starting to draw freely on the drawing board until night falls. The drawing board has come to life with a vibrant painting as she returns home through the alley. Grandma Chun was there, pacing back and forth waiting for her to come home. She even prepared a table full of delicious food for her, worried that Heiji might choke on a fish bone. She carefully picked each piece of fish meat and scooped large spoonfuls of rice to feed her. Even the old house grandma once resolutely refused to sell. Now she has decided to sell it so Heiji can have a better life. The painting of Heiji also caught the attention of the art teacher, but the teacher did not praise her painting talent. On the contrary, the teacher pointed out that her painting was all flat colors, lacking light, lacking distinction between light and dark, and criticized a few details. Mistakes in her painting, she stubbornly replied, "If that's the case, I won't study painting anymore." The teacher helplessly stood up and went to the cupboard to get supplies. While taking things out, he said to her, "Look, this is what your grandma gave me, ferns, seaweed, ginseng wine. You can see that she has lived in great hardship before, but that hardship can become poison or a tonic." The teacher didn't know that. "It depends on your choices, but grandma has loved you like that. You should at least try, right? These are the best things a diver like grandma can bring." Along with the teacher's sincere advice and remembering the warm care from grandma after returning to the countryside. After school, she goes into the forest alone, quietly sitting on a tree stump, looking up at the sky, returning home wearing the hair clip grandma bought for her. Sitting in front of the porch, she continues to draw. At this moment, Grandma Chun is working under the scorching sunlight. She asks grandma if she has put on sunscreen, but after a lifetime of being a diver, how would she know to use such things? Heiji immediately stands up and generously applies a thick layer of sunscreen on grandma. At this moment, Grandma Chun feels like a child being comforted. Joy and happiness fill her heart from the once unfamiliar Heiji. Gradually learning to adapt to grandma's love and the slow but affectionate rural life, Heiji, who has never been to the sea, also wants grandma to take her to jump into the ocean. Grandma holds her hand tightly. Together they swim to the place where grandma has worked all her life. They swim through schools of fish, over coral reefs, diving deep into the ocean. The strands of seaweed sway like silk ribbons dancing, guiding them to explore the endless beauty, warmth also spreading in their hearts. But then one day, everything changed. Heiji received a call from a thug in Seoul threatening her for money. Otherwise, he would harm her best friend. In a panic, she secretly took the money from grandma's house sale, but when she reached the ATM to withdraw the money, she felt guilty and regretful. She couldn't bear to take all the savings her beloved grandmother had saved her whole life. So when her grandmother was away, she secretly placed the savings book back in the cabinet, but everything was discovered by her uncle. This uncle suspected and advised her grandmother to pay attention to Heiji, but she dismissed it and scolded her uncle loudly, not believing that her granddaughter would steal money. Meanwhile, Heiji was still worried about her friend. She sadly went to the beach to smoke alone, but when her grandmother saw that scene, she did not scold her, but instead asked her for a cigarette and smoked with her. Then asked her whether the ocean was wider or the sky was wider. Heiji casually replied that the sky was wider. At this moment, Grandma Chun seemed to understand something, but she only gently said that our Heiji has truly grown up. No matter how tiring and difficult life is, having a steadfast companion is enough. That is life. I am willing to be your companion. Live the way you want, don't worry about anything. I am willing to do everything for you. After those words, she stubbed out her cigarette and turned to walk away, looking at her hunched back. Heiji suddenly realized the deep love her grandmother had for her. Then Heiji decided not to disappoint her grandmother. She painted a picture of her and submitted it to the art teacher. In the painting, Grandma Chun's eyes were filled with endless love. This time the teacher praised her. The teacher even encouraged her to participate in a painting competition in Seoul, but someone who grew up in the darkness had never received praise like Heiji. She teared up. So, Heiji decided to participate in the painting competition with her teacher, but what no one expected was that Heiji left this time without intending to return. On the day she left, her grandmother went to the bus station to see her off. Heiji shoved a bottle of sunscreen into her hand and reminded her to apply a lot for it to be effective. But after the competition in Seoul, when the teacher returned to the examination room, he only saw one painting and a piece of paper. But no sign of Heiji. "Teacher, this painting is titled Confession. I have done something very shameful. So I apologize. But I also thank you very much, teacher. Even now the sunlight is still foreign to me, while Grandma Chun is still waiting for her granddaughter to come home. But she received a shocking news from her grandson bringing the DNA test results of her and Heiji, which clearly stated that the two are not biologically related. She is not Heiji, the granddaughter of Grandma, but Grandma Chun did not believe it. She even scolded her grandson not to do useless things. Then she quietly cleaned the floor, but her expression became colder and quieter. It turns out that before Heiji left, her gambling-addicted father found her and forced her to take the money from selling her grandmother's house. Otherwise, he would come to find her grandmother to demand money. Heiji did not want her gentle and warm grandmother to be disturbed, so she reluctantly took her grandmother's savings book. Going to Seoul, she gave the money to her stepfather and could no longer face returning, so she chose to say goodbye. But that was not all. It was even more painful for Grandma Chun, who was still waiting ahead. After returning to Seoul, to save her friend, Heiji got into a fight and was arrested at the police station. Grandma Chun received the notification and immediately went to the police station. I want to take Heiji home, but Heiji just sits still on the chair. Heiji, you are Heiji, right? People say you are not Heiji, but I don't believe that test result. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm sorry. Hairi's answer is just an apology. At this moment, the despair of gaining and then losing. Drowning Grandma Che Chun. So where is your Hairi? Where is your Hairi? Hairi is truly gone. At this moment, the whole truth is revealed. It turns out that her biological mother kidnapped Heiji. But not long after, they had an accident. Heiji and her mother both died in that accident, while another girl named Unzo had a different father. Mother and Heiji survived, but the stepfather, wanting to get money from insurance compensation, put Heiji's bracelet on Unzo. The stories about Grandma Che Chun in the countryside were told by Heiji to Unzo. The crayon that Heiji held when she was kidnapped was also a gift she gave to Unzo. This crayon is for you, but later when you meet my grandma, remember to return the crayon to her, okay? After the accident, the stepfather, who was addicted to gambling, squandered all the compensation money and ruthlessly sent Unzo to an orphanage. In an environment without a father or mother, Unzo grew up to be a typical rebellious girl. She stole, deceived, and caused trouble, even pulling her friends into love scams. But during one scam, two male friends accidentally injured someone else, and then the whole group split up to escape. In a desperate situation, Unzo accidentally saw a missing person notice from Grandma Che Chun. That was the notice on a milk box from years ago that made Unzo come up with a plan to pretend to be Heiji to return to her hometown. But during her time living with Grandma Che Chun, she was moved by Grandma's sincere love, and she decided to stay and live with her in the countryside. However, her bad friends and stepfather came to demand money when her best friend fell into danger, and she didn't know what to do. When she no longer hated poverty, when her painting talent was recognized by the teacher, and when she started to care about others, Grandma carries deep sorrow. Everything seemed to be progressing well, but only Unzo, who hides the truth, truly understands. She became increasingly preoccupied with this fake identity and the lies she created against the one who is melting in the light. But she deliberately chose to end it all. Until now, she still feels the sunlight is strange. Eventually, Unzo was convicted of fraud. Her father also had to go to jail for insurance fraud when he learned that the real Heiji had died a long time ago. Grandma Chun finally met her real granddaughter, but the pain was so great that her weak body collapsed to the ground in agony. After that, she returned to a lonely, quiet life, but every meal, she still set 2 sets of chopsticks and bowls as before. The image of young Heiji always appeared in her mind. She sat there lost in thought for a moment. She fell to the ground in pain, then returned to her lonely, silent life, but she still set 2 sets of chopsticks and bowls for each meal as usual. The image of Heiji as a child always appeared in her mind. She sat absent-mindedly alone for a moment. The figure of Heiji appeared before her eyes again. Grandma, I'm so hungry. Yes, my dear, just eat rice, okay, Grandma? A sudden voice woke her up. It was Unzo's art teacher announcing that. Unzo had won a big prize in the painting competition and urged her to definitely see the painting, but she told the teacher to take it away. She didn't want to see it. You must see it because, Grandma, that child has finally started painting about a world filled with light, and the main character in the painting is her. I hope she will take a look. I asked for permission that after the teacher left, she opened the painting to see. The painting depicted a deep blue ocean. The diver, Chun, is holding hands with 2 girls, one is Hyagi, the other is Unzo. Under her guidance, Chun tries to swim up from the deep water towards where the sunlight shines. This is the first time light appears in Unzo's painting. She looks down and sees the title of the painting, A Confession. Tears rolled down the deeply wrinkled face of hers. The pain of losing loved ones and the overwhelming loneliness burst forth in an uncontrollable moment. Her gaze lingered on the painting. She felt like an old sad song filled with loneliness and heartache. Time quietly passed. Another year went by. After getting out of prison, Enzo was no longer lost. She was working part-time while continuing to paint, living a serious and striving life. Until her grandson, Chun, came to find her, asking if she had come to look for her. That was when she realized. Grandma Chun had lost her memory and had gone missing from the nursing home a week before Enzo arrived at the nursing home where she lived. She saw the painting Hiji drew when she was young hanging on the wall, and on the wardrobe was a photo of her and Grandma. She began the journey to search for her grandmother, Enzo going to the market where Hiji was kidnapped years ago. This market scene was now too familiar. 13 years ago, Grandma Chun also asked everyone at the market to find her granddaughter. 13 years later, Enzo held her grandmother's photo, anxiously searching for her. Just as Enzo was about to give up, she suddenly heard a soft voice. Turning around, she saw the figure of an old woman in tattered clothes, with her back turned to her. "Grandma, it's me, Chun." Enzo hurriedly ran to her. She finally found her grandmother. Now with amnesia, she doesn't recognize anyone. Enzo looked at her and said, "It's me, your granddaughter. How do you not recognize me?" She looked at her carefully for a long time and then gently said, Hi Eji, my dear sweet granddaughter. "That's right, it's your granddaughter Hi Eji. I have been looking for you all these years." This time Enzo spoke the same lie as before. This time, she became Grandma Chun's granddaughter again. Then they returned to the old house in the countryside. Enzo had now become Hyagi. Deciding not to go anywhere anymore, she would stay by Grandma Chun's side, painting and taking care of her. They lived peacefully together under the falling snow. Grandma Chun learned to paint on glass jars, and she used paint as sunscreen just like old times. Gently applying it to her granddaughter's face, her eyes, sometimes awake, sometimes dreamy, still shining with deep love for her granddaughter, while Enzo, with endless patience and gentleness, went through each day with her. The simple little house witnessed the moments of the two grandmothers and granddaughters leaning on each other, every smile. Each hug becomes the most precious gift in their lives. One night, Enzo turned on her grandmother's recording device to listen to the radio. But the voice that came out was her grandmother's voice. It turned out to be a recording she made when she was still lucid. She said she had known for a long time that Enzo was not Hiji. When she said the sky is wider than the sea, she had known, but she didn't want to believe it. She said if only she had never known, that would be better. How she wished that even at the time of death, she wouldn't be aware, but suddenly she said that wasn't right. You are indeed her granddaughter. It doesn't matter who believes it or not, you are her granddaughter. It doesn't have to be related by blood, you are inherently her granddaughter. Her granddaughter, all her life, she drank seawater to survive. But you must live a full and prosperous life. Her lonely life met you in her final days, and now death is near. How can she leave you behind? How can she leave you behind? How can she leave you behind? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was wrong, Grandma. I was really wrong, Grandma. In the last recording, the grandmother, who spent her life toiling by the sea despite suffering from dementia and deteriorating health, still did not forget to mention the password to her savings book for her granddaughter. In the end, her life came to a close. On her sickbed, she held her granddaughter's hand, gently calling, Enzo, for the first time. She called the real name of her granddaughter, who was not of blood relation. Enzo, I have to go to Hiji now. I must hurry, I can't keep it waiting any longer. And what about you? You must live well, don't think too much. Because you came to her as her granddaughter, she is truly very grateful. Goodbye, Grandma, I love you. In the end, Grandma Chai Chun passed away peacefully. At that moment, a butterfly gently flew in, bringing her to the field of bright yellow flowers. Where little Hyagi once again fell into her warm embrace, the love she had for the girl. Where the twinkling lights near the horizon, the joy of playing hide and seek in the canola fields in Enzo's world. That yellow is the light that Grandma Chai Chun gave to her when she was still alive. All the storms of the world kept away from that girl, they only converged towards her when she passed away. It seems the only legacy she left behind was that girl. In their journey, they kept bickering with each other. The lonely grandmother finally found her beloved granddaughter, while Enzo, the girl who once lived in darkness, felt unconditional love. The eyes that once shed too many tears are now clearer, and the heart that once endured too much suffering is now gentler. Those eyes have been cleansed by Grandma's tears. Chun could see through Enzo's pain and coldness. The heart that had gone through Grandma's ups and downs understood her fears and weaknesses. Between reason and compassion, Grandma Chai Chun always chose compassion. The bond is like a strait that leads deep into the vast blue sea. In the heart of the sea are the twinkling rays of hope. It is the little dolphins leaping from the water, creating waves not far from love.